Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win podcast with your hosts, Nick and Will. This is where we chat about international insights and perspectives involving mindset and leadership, travel and the travel business, and sports. Welcome to Wanderlust Wednesday, where we talk about travel. And please make sure that you subscribe, follow, share our winners, our listeners, so that you know when we drop the episodes. And if you think others would enjoy this, certainly grateful and appreciative if you spread the word. So with Wanderlust Wednesday today, we are talking about travel. Say hi, Nick.
Hello, winners. I'm excited for the episode today where we'll be talking about a lot of very important steps to have when we are planning a vacation.
Yes, and I think, this being our fourth travel episode, we've touched on a number of different things previously, but I think this one, kind of walking through some of the step-by-steps for how people can create or the steps to go through to end up experiencing a phenomenal vacation, certainly areas in which travel agents can help facilitate that process and maybe alleviate some of the burden or augment the travel experience. And then we'll end with a few pro tips, if you will, on how to have a phenomenal vacation. So maybe we can start with the step-by-step first. Nick, what do you think?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right. Awesome. So, obviously, and this may sound like an oversimplification, but the first step is choosing the type of destination. And what are you looking to do? Do you want to relax? Do you want to have fun? Do you want to explore a new city? Do you want to go to a place you've been to before, but have a similar or maybe some different experiences? But maybe starting there, what do you think in terms of the destination, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you want to create a vacation after a vacation because you were so busy on the one you selected. So yes, I think there is a lot of things to take into consideration. The destination, the kind of vacation. So as we know, there are multi ways to go on vacation, like all-inclusive resort. If you want to have, a time to relax with your significant other, family, friends, or anything like that. You can have a cruise, but there are different type of cruise. You have the river cruising that you can do mainly in Europe, but also some in US and South America. Or you can have ocean cruise, which is the most popular for Floridians when they can go literally in any port and leave from there with all those big ocean cruising. Then you can go itineraries. Itineraries meaning you can decide to go to another continent or another country. And just on that level, you will need some more planification. You need to understand, a little bit where you're going, what you're going to do when you are there. How many days are you going to stay at the same location before moving to the next one? Because when you travel, 6, 8, 10 hours or more, you usually don't want to stay at the same location for the whole duration. So there is a lot of things to take into consideration. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And, thinking about, you touched on a couple things, like one, dates, how long the vacation, but also like, depending on where you're going, there's times where you may want to go and times you may not want to go. Like, I know you were chatting about Alaska before.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for example, Alaska, we know that it's between May and September at the latest. So if you want to plan that, well, now it's the time, for example, for next year or even 2026. No kidding. A lot of people are planning like a year and a half in advance to 2 years, some trips in Alaska, because it's such a small season to actually be able to visit it. Most people by cruise, but you have other ways to visit Alaska as well.
Yeah. And I think about, keeping it domestic for a minute, Washington, D.C. Like, one thing I really wanted to see was when the cherry blossoms bloomed, which only occurs for a few-week window in late March, early April, depending. But you could think about that like in, obviously this is going to seem like a no-brainer, but if you want to see the Christmas markets in Europe, which are just amazing. I saw one in Munich. That was just phenomenal. But obviously, that's a certain time of year.
Yeah, so 3 weeks a year. So, yeah. But literally, people, the river cruising in Europe during the Christmas market is one of the most popular time of the year, even though it's cold. But it's just gorgeous and beautiful. The way the lights, the the atmosphere, the kind of drinks they serve. I mean, a lot of things are very typical. And then, of course, Germany, Belgium, Holland, like London, you have different places to go for that. Even in the south, you have those Christmas markets. So yeah, they are differently like, but that's only 3 weeks of the year. So it started around the 5th, 6th of December until the 26th, and then it's they literally shut down everything. So those are the only time of the year you can actually travel there. And yesterday I got a call from a client asking for Japan to go for 2 weeks in Japan in 2026, and she was asking me, okay, what's the best season? I'm like, well, Japan is literally a 4-season country. It's very specific what you can have. So I explained to her, what was possible during each season to do, and then she decided from there which season was the one she wanted to pick. And so we definitely, it's very important to understand those nuances before starting the process.
Yeah, and obviously there could be things like events, right? Like thinking about, if I want to go to Brazil, maybe I want to go when they're having Carnival and different things like that. So, yeah, all those things factor in. And then I think another no-brainer, but it's an important one, is budget, right? Like making sure you have a budget, knowing what you want to experience within that budget, and then planning your itinerary accordingly.
Yeah, budget is something that 80% of the people who are reaching out, they have a budget and they are willing to share it. But you always have those 20%ers who much rather hide that budget or not share the budget because they think maybe I can get better deal. But actually it's all the opposite that's happening. If you don't have a budget, we don't know where to look. We don't know what to do. So if you want the cheapest, you need to say it. Like, I don't care about the quality of the service. I don't care about the quality of the food. I just want the cheapest and I want to go there. Okay, then it's clear. And then, we will see if we can help on that level. That's not our target, but we can check definitely to see what we can do. But if you have a budget and you said, Nick, we want to go there, do this, and here is the budget we have, then it allows me to really put together the best possible itinerary with activities, with transportations, and everything included within the budget. And then I can say, if you want something a little bit better, here is what the difference. Again, a couple of days ago, a client called and they want to go to Europe. So they booked a transatlantic from New York to Southampton. And then they have a river cruise who will start from Amsterdam to Budapest. And they have 8 days in between. So they told me, Nick, so I booked the transatlantic and the river cruise, and then in between will be the fun part where we actually can be innovative and try to find something fun to do for them. They wanted to absolutely go to Normandy, so and Mont Saint Michel. So okay, well, to get from Southampton to Normandy, how many days to Normandy in order to check everything that is to do there? And then how to get from there to Mont Saint Michel and back to Amsterdam on time for the river cruise. And so we built that. They had a budget, but they didn't tell me the budget. They said, well, come with the best you can do, but And I came back and they were like, okay, we love everything, but it's a little bit over what we would like to spend. I'm like, okay, how much do you want to spend? So finally I got the number. I was able to get something within their number with a couple of tweaks. Of course, they will not have some private tours. It's going to be group tours. We can really tweak things to make it work. It's not going to be 100% the same experience, but it doesn't mean that's not going to be a great experience.
Right.
And so we were able to do that. And now we have the full itinerary from New York, Southampton, Normandy, Amsterdam, Budapest, and back to New York. So those are the steps that are important to understand in advance, and budget is a huge key, of course.
And a little funny pun plug, then they can have their dream vacation.
Hey, here we go. You
see what I did there? You were talking a little bit about sometimes where they don't share the budget and then you craft something and they need to tweak it to maybe make some compromises in order to fit it. But I remember you telling me a story where you quoted somebody and I think it had to deal with the Panama Canal, And they actually said, and it was a pretty expensive ticket. I think it was like $6,000 or something like that for one person on a ship. And they came back and said, do you have something more expensive? So again, some time could have been saved, knowing that actually they were looking for a more luxurious experience than what you assume, but based on them being reticent to share the budget up front.
Absolutely. So it was 11,000 for one person. And the reason why that client asked me that is because they wanted something a little bit more luxurious. That's what I suggested, and something smaller. So they wanted to have a smaller ship.
Right. Okay.
And so I was able to put something together and figure out a way to do it. It was up to 19,000 to go from Fort Lauderdale to San Diego. So it's, I believe it was 17, 18 days sailing, but going through Panama Canal. And it's in a very, very luxurious cruise line. So if you're listening and you said, oh my God, I will never be able to do that, that's a very luxurious cruise line. So you have other options. But of course, you get what you pay for. So you will have a ship with less than 600, sailors on the ship. So it's different than going with the first cruise line that I was selected. That was 2,200, so 2,400 sailors. So of course, and you have also a butler. So you have someone literally 24/7 at your service. So you get what you pay for, of course, but it all depends what you can afford. And again, nothing wrong with your budget.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's about having the experience, right? And at the end of the day, there's so many different things that can help augment the experience. So maybe, we talked about some of the core necessary steps to plan someone's dream vacation. Maybe talk a little bit about, how a travel agent specific, you kind of alluded to it in some of your earlier examples, but how the travel agent can either simplify or augment the experience for someone's dream vacation.
Exactly. That's all into the transportations and activities. So I already mentioned that when we take care of something, we take care from A to Z. So when you try to book yourself, you may not think about detail like, okay, for example, I go back to Europe because it's easier for transportation. Let's say you go from London to Paris, and then you want to go from Paris to Amsterdam, okay? Maybe you will have to change station to go from one station to another in Paris in order to go to Amsterdam. So you will need to get out of the train, take a cab, go to another train station 5 minutes away with a cab, and then go there. You may not think about it because in your mind it's Paris. You go from there to Paris, Paris to there, but you don't realize you have a transfer. And it happened more often than you can think, that I get those feedback. Oh my God, I didn't think about it. Well, if you used us, we would have tell you exactly what to do. We'll have someone waiting at the station for you because you have your luggage. You're tired. You just have maybe like 9 hours flying if you come from the US. And then you have to go to a train. Then you have another train to take. So, your mood is not optimal. You need lack of sleep. You want to have everything done for you, So this is something that is extremely important. Activities, if you book in advance some activities, that may and will probably be a lot less expensive than if you wait the same day at the hotel and try to do the same activity that we could have planned in advance. Another point very important is to leave a buffer in between. People want to, definitely when they go to Europe, Asia, Africa, they want to do as many things as possible, which makes sense. But you need to realize the jet lag. You need to realize that sometimes you will love to see something longer than an hour or 2 hours. So what are you doing if you don't have the advice from the travel agent who is used to go there or to send a lot of their clients there? They know exactly the time that it's needed for that and the time that it's needed also to recuperate in between those activities. So all those things are extremely important, and the savings are huge if you plan completely in advance. It's like everything. When you do a package, a quote for a package is going to be always a lot less expensive than if you do like a quote for one thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, instead of a la carte bundling together. Yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing that you were alluding to, and I think is important, and you touched on this in a previous Two for the Win episode, where, if you're going to have groups, And with Dream Vacations, sometimes there's certain incentives because of all the relationships that Dream Vacations have with various vendors, whether it's a group or even individual. There could be pricing incentives that aren't readily known to the general public that the agent can take advantage of. And if you have that, budget and you have certain things that you wanted to do, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to not be able to do this because this would exceed the budget. There's a possibility by using the agency, you'll find savings in other areas so that they can include all the things that they really wanted to do for the same amount that they were planning.
Absolutely. Group pricing doesn't mean you need to be in a group. Group pricing means that if we have a group open that is public for travel agent, we can see and put people in those slots. Definitely for cruises. That's something that's very popular for cruises. You have a lot of organizations or groups who just open groups left and right, because if you have like more than, for example, it depends, but between 8 and 10 staterooms, you start getting into a better tariffication for groups. But, it doesn't mean that you need to hold the people's hands and go eat with them at night. You're just in the same group, which is the same ship.
Right.
So this is something that is very popular, but that allows us to give some extra benefits, better pricing, some onboard credit in some instances. So there are a lot of opportunities. When it comes to other kind of groups, then yes, we have some vendors in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, in South America, who are actually providing group tours up to, depending, but the one I have in mind is 46 people, because it has to be able to take everybody in a coach together, like a luxury coach, but it's 46 people. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so they open the group for families, for friends and stuff. And then we get to 35 people, and then there is like 2 months left. Mm-hmm. And that's something I posted in Facebook recently about a trip like that in Italy for December 1st, who was like, okay, we still have some room for that experience in Italy. And then I believe it was 25% off or something like that to people who want to leave December 1st this year in Italy. So yeah, those things, if you don't see it advertised by a travel agent, you may not know, because those are vendors who are working exclusively with travel agents. So you cannot go to their website and decide to just check it out. So you're totally right. Always ask what's possible. But again, those are exceptions, and last minute are something that I would definitely not advise to do, because mostly than not, you will pay a lot more last minute than if you plan in advance.
Yeah, and actually that leads me into our third segment about some of the pro tips. Sometimes, trying to do something last minute, you forget an important step. Like, for example, certain countries' visa requirements, right? And maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the pro tips you've seen that aid people, things that sometimes get missed to help with travel requirements.
Absolutely. So travel requirements, we always are up to date with the situation in different countries and continents. So when there's like any kind of red alerts for, like terrorism, that's extreme, but it happens, or viruses or things like that, we are directly aware. And then we let our clients who are leaving or there now, know that there's something going on. And we are there along the way 100% with them. And people who want to book something in those areas, we have directly a red flag, and we don't suggest anything that may be dangerous for the client. No, we cannot expect, anything that's going to happen, but anything that we know is there happening, we will take care of that for you and let you know. When it comes to visa requirements, we also very short on the ball. We tell you exactly what's needed in the documentation, on the booking documentation. You will have all the information about the location you're going to, what needs to happen. So very soon, actually next year, mid next year, there is a new law for certain countries that American will have to have some kind of, it's not a visa, but it's some kind of document that we need to apply online in order to get those in addition to our passports. So those things we will let the client know that, hey, here's the website, you need to go register there as well, put the dates of your vacation, and then you will receive a mail, and then you need to print that and bring that with you in your passport. Otherwise you cannot go in the country. So it's going to take effect next year, mid next year for some countries, but we are top of this, and then we make sure that the client are all aware of this. So again, that's one of the advantage. If you have someone to give you those information as the time's right, it's a lot easier than if you have to figure it out everything yourself.
Yeah, and I went to Australia last year, and it was very similar to what you just described. Not exactly that, but I had to fill out something online with the Australian government and then they process it, and it was quick. I mean, it was really quick, but it was a necessary step that I needed to have. Can you imagine flying 24 to 30 hours someplace like that, and then be like, oh, I can't get in, or you have to wait at the airport because you have to fill it out and then wait for them a day or two to process. What was that movie with Tom Hanks where you had to live at the airport? Otto or whatever? Or no, it's something. I forget what it was called, but I don't want to be that guy.
No, nobody wants. Nobody wants. After flying anywhere on vacation, all you want to do is to be at the hotel and do the activities that are planned, and not to just fill out documentation that were missed.
Yeah, I want to eat the local cuisine. I don't want to eat the airport cuisine.
Oh, no, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Another thing you mentioned before, but I'd be remiss if we didn't revisit it again as a pro tip, is building in downtime to your itinerary. You mentioned things like, having potential jet lag, or just trying to make sure you're not trying to do too much in case you want to, spend more time somewhere else, or just relax a little bit more. But I guess anything else to build upon that, or did that pretty much cover it in your mind in terms of the downtime?
I think it covered, but it's very important. I will give one more example. Something that is very popular and that I advise everybody to do it, with us or not with us. But when you go to Alaska and you do a cruise in Alaska, don't limit yourself for a cruise. Do a cruise tour. Cruise tour means that you will have the 7 days or so like sailing, and then you will have 3 days, or you start with the 3 days and then you sailing, whatever you want. 3 to 5 days on land. So you take a train, which all glass, very comfortable, like you eat well, and then you see the ins and outs of Alaska that you cannot see from the ship. And then you just literally sleep in lodges. In Alaska, you can experience dock sliding, you can go on a helicopter, go on glacier, you can go salmon fishing, and what you caught, they cook it for you at the hotel. I mean, it's phenomenal, the experience you can have there. The reason why I mentioned that, I had a group going last year in Alaska, and they did everything right, but I explained to them, those 3 days will be it's a lot to do the rest of 3 days. And they came back and they said, well, yes, we should have take 4, because then we'll have more time to really take all in, take it all in, and have some, hikes that we could have done and things like that. But here it was like, okay, we do this, then we do this, then we do this, then we eat, then we're tired, and then we go sleep. In the morning, it starts again. So we will explain that. We will explain the kind of intensity that requires to do certain activities in certain destinations, and we can really make sure to add that to the build up of the itinerary, and leave some free time left and right for you to be able to reconnect and disconnect with the busy day that you have, and be able to really like enjoy to the fullest your experience.
Another thing I wanted to get your take on. So when I first started traveling as a young adult, we didn't have an immense budget. So I would call us more frugal travelers. And something that we didn't take advantage of in those cases were things like travel insurance. And I think, just hearing some of your stories and personal experiences that I've had, maybe you can talk a little bit about the importance of travel insurance with our listeners, our winners.
Each their own. We don't push it for them, but it would be a disservice for a client to not even mentioning it. It's like every kind of insurance. When there is no problem, why did I pay for this? But you have one time something happening. If you don't have it, you will struggle. How many times
could cost thousands of dollars, right?
I mean, I had an experience. Unfortunately, thank goodness it was not of my client, but still, empathize with that person who just fell on the cruise. Like literally, I was on the pool deck, and the person, an elderly person, like was walking and fell. Ambulance came and everything like that. I mean, the
medics.
The medics came, and then the helicopter. When we were at the port, the helicopter came to take him away and further medical examination. I don't know what happened, of course, but it seems to be really bad. And I was thinking, if that person didn't have an insurance, that will cost him, I don't want to say a number, but it's going to be a 6-figure kind of number. Because to have an helicopter coming, picking you up in another country, and take you to the hotel. God knows what to do there, all the testing, the radio and everything, and then maybe, send you back in the US.
Oh yeah, from the hospital.
That's a six figure. Yeah. And so if they have an insurance, it's not going to be that much.
Yeah.
And so again, you can analyze the way you want. I think if you do something within the US, you can probably, it allows you to take some more risk and not take an insurance. Mm-hmm. If you live in Florida and you do like a 4-night Bahamas cruise, it's not a big risk. Mm-hmm. But if you go to another continent, or the price tag of the travel is significant, I would definitely recommend to take a travel insurance anywhere you want, but take a travel insurance because the day that you will need it, and if you don't have it, you will never not travel with one.
Right. And it's not even just things like you're alluding to the medical point, which is extremely important, but even things like if somebody just gets ill or they got to miss the date or
work.
Yeah. Things like, work for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. So there are other reasons why to use one, but, it's recommended. Again, I always ask by email, and I want a response if you decline. So I did my job to make sure that you are understanding of the risk, and then we go from there. So
no, that sounds great. Any other final tips you'd like to share with our winners, our listeners on the travel?
Be prepared. Plan your vacation. Like, don't wait last minute. It's gonna cost you more money. You will have a lot less availabilities, and you will miss out of a lot of activities because that's going to be sold out in most places. And if you want to do a cruise last minute, there's a reason why cruise are sometimes, dropping their price drastically for a cruise happening next week. Mm-hmm. It's because they will put you in a dark room. It's literally what it is. Or they will advertise like an ocean view, and then you will be on a balcony with like a life safe boat in front of your balcony, so you don't see nothing. It happens a lot, but if you don't take, the information from a travel agent who can check each room and tell you exactly where the room is, why is that so cheap? Because you have sometimes people say, oh, yes, I saw this price and you give me this price. Yes, I can give you the same price, but I don't want you to be in that stateroom because you will not experience what you pay for.
Right.
So there is a reason for all of that. So my recommendation, plan in advance, ask the advice of a professional, and that's not what you will have the best experience.
Excellent. Well, astute advice, and thank you, Nick. And
absolutely.
Again, for our winners, our listeners, plan in advance so that you can have your true dream vacation. See what I did there again? Second time. Nice. And hopefully you got some useful nuggets from today's episode. So that will wrap up this edition of Wanderlust Wednesday. Please, again, remember to subscribe, follow, and share Two for the Win podcast with your hosts, Nick and Will. Thank you again for tuning in and listening, and we will see you on Friday with our next Fanatic Friday episode. So take care, winners, and be well.
Bye, winners.